So this morning I'd like to talk about gratitude. I'd like to always start with a definition of gratitude, the quality of being thankful, the readiness to show appreciation for and return kindness. So, first of all, why do we need to feel grateful? We need to feel grateful because as human beings, we have this tendency to not notice what is not grabbing our attention at the time. And when people did studies of happiness, they came across this, or they coined this new term back in 1971, the hedonic adaptation. And basically what that means is, in life, our struggle has been to stay alive primarily. And in order to stay alive, we need to take care of the most pressing things first, like your desire to eat, your desire to drink. And those are the most pressing needs. And the other kind of stimuli happening in your life are left to the wayside because the most important primal desire is to stay alive. So those needs get taken care of first. And everything else kind of fades into the background because it's not an urgent need. Fast forward till today's era, and we have, homeless people who are living a better lifestyle than the richest kings were thousands of years ago. They have access to fresh water, they have access to good quality food, they have access to medical care that previous generations could only dream of. So the point is, we're not, as human beings, we're not always satisfied with absolutes. We are only satisfied with progress. We're always pushing the boundary. We always need to address and take care of the things that are in our forefront of our mind. The problem is, however, that in pursuit of excellence, in pursuit of development, in pursuit of growth, we often forget about all the great things that are already happening to us, all the wonderful things that are around us. And hence the need for gratitude is paramount in order to allow us to become happy. So, why practice gratitude? First of all, it can jolt us, literally jolt us out of our negative feedback loop. You start feeling ungrateful about your job, and then all of a sudden you're not liking it, and then because you're not liking it, people are not liking you, and because people are not liking you, you're not liking them, and because this just goes on and on and on, and everything just feeds negativity on each other. You take that negativity back home with you, you have arguments with your spouse, you have difficulties with your children, you go back to work, blah 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 blah. And it returns our attention to the positive stimuli in our life. If we practice gratitude, like as a physical practice, like sitting down, writing down things that you're grateful for, if you can practice gratitude, you can remind yourself of the things that are wonderful in your life that you're not thinking about because your mind is occupied with providing for your family, taking care of the dirty diaper, taking care of the mortgage, taking care of the food, all these kind of pressing needs swamp out, override all the wonderful things that you have already. So practicing gratitude is an important procedure, as far as I'm concerned, in human life in order to remind ourselves of all the wonderful things existing. They've done over 40 studies on gratitude since the 70s. And it all comes back to happiness. So I just made a list of 31 findings from more than 40 research studies on gratitude. It makes us happier, it makes people like us, it makes us healthier, it boosts our career, strengthens our emotions, develops our personality. From a personality perspective, it does those. From a health perspective, it does those. From an emotional perspective, it does those. From a social perspective, it does those. From a career perspective, it achieves these. So the conclusion is that gratitude is a no cure-all, but it is a massively underutilized tool for improving life satisfaction and happiness. So what I'd like to talk about today is how do we offset this hedonic treadmill that we are constantly on? Because it is an important part, it is an important feature of human beings that we have this system inside of this hedonic adaptation. Because otherwise, we would have just been satisfied running after animals, hunting and living in caves. If that was all it took to satisfy us, then that's how it would be for human beings. There would be no need to progress. There would be no need to find better systems. There would be no need to achieve all these wonderful things that we've been achieving. I mean, compare the human progress with the progress of, say, the wolf. What are wolves doing now that they didn't do thousands of years ago? Any animal in the animal kingdom, what are they doing now that they didn't do thousands of years ago? So compare that to human beings. We're basically doing the same thing, but we're doing it a whole lot better and more efficiently. And that's because of this inbuilt system that we have inside ourselves, which is to always progress. We want to get more. And the problem, of course, is say for instance, take this example. You're a hard-working person, and you want to achieve a better pay salary because you want to provide for your family. And you think in your mind, if I can just get that next promotion, I can get more money, and that's going to make me so much happier, and so forth. So what happens is you work hard, and because you work hard, you get that promotion. You get more money, and you are happy. You're happy because you've got the promotion. And now you're at a new level, okay? And this is the system, And then you look over the fence and you see your neighbor's car, and you think, darn, a Lexus. I want a Lexus. I can't afford one right now. I'm not happy about that. I need to get that next promotion. And you work hard, and because you work hard, you get that next promotion, and then you achieve it. You are happy for about a day, a week, maybe you can stretch it for a month. And then you're looking around and thinking, darn, I want to go on vacation to Hawaii. I can't afford it though. I need to get that next promotion. And so on and so forth it goes. And that's what we call the hedonic treadmill of life. And if you're stuck on that treadmill, as we all are, then you are not practicing gratitude. Okay? Because you're primarily preoccupied with false targets, with false ambitions, that once you achieve them, you find they're just like sand flowing through your fingers. It's not what you wanted, because the happiness that you're seeking in life is coming from the process, is coming from the living, not the target. Okay? Because having goals and everything, that's important. In fact, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. But what we need to understand is we need to understand there are so many wonderful things happening in our lives, and we need to take stock of them from time to time. In fact, if we turn gratitude into a daily practice, then we can achieve that. So there are three things that are advised. One is to not just think about gratitude, but to feel the emotion of it. That's called emote. The other one is to extend. You don't just think about things in your life, but you are grateful for the people around you. That's extend. And then, of course, exercise is to put that into practice. Make a daily gratitude exercise. So there are 7 practices for long-term happiness and offsetting the hedonic treadmill. One is to develop your gratitude habit. Now, a gratitude habit is a foundational habit. And what I mean by that is that without doing that, nothing else really happens. If you can't take step 1, you won't get to step 2. So develop a gratitude habit. Practice daily mindfulness, thinking about your situation, thinking about all the wonderful things happening in your life. Practice loving kindness meditation. That means looking at yourself, loving yourself, looking at others, loving others. Develop a more optimistic nature. That is actually possible, even if we have a tendency to be pessimistic. But with a sense of gratitude in your heart, you can start to look at things in a different way. Accept and process your emotions, both positive and a negative. This is really important because psychological problems occur when people run away from negative emotions. We can't hide from the negative emotions forever. And the way we run away from them is a complicated process we often do to ourselves. Sometimes we use food as an escape. Sometimes we use media as an escape. Sometimes we have an addiction to some substance or pornography or whatever as an escape. These are all escape mechanisms where people indulge in order to escape the unbearable feeling of worthlessness or the unbearable sensation of lovelessness in their life. So allowing you to process negative emotions and just sit with them and allow them to just pass through you rather than trying to ignore them or deflect them or silence them is a very important practice in mental health. Set meaningful goals. Earl Nightingale talked about happiness as being seeing yourself advancing towards a meaningful goal. Without having a meaningful goal in front of you, you can't measure yourself against anything. You're just floating in the wind of emotion, and that's not a good place to be, because emotions are here and there and gone and back again. What you need to be doing, what we need to be doing, I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little preachy right now, what we need to be doing is setting a meaningful goal and seeing ourselves progressing towards it. That process leads to happiness. And also we need to put more effort into our relationships. There's nothing more rewarding in life than to see the people that you love in your life respond to you in a loving way. So that's only going to happen when you invest into your loving relationships. So here's the key. This is the kind of the end point. That it's not happy people who are thankful. Oh, he's thankful because he's so, so many good things are happening in his life. That's why. My life sucks on comparison, so I'm not going to be thankful. It's thankful people who are happy. Zig Ziglar gives this funny story about this one person he was asked to meet before one of his lectures. Zig Ziglar, for those of you who don't know, was he's passed away now, but he was a coach of sorts. He used to give talks to people and help motivate them to extend themselves and bring out the best in themselves. So one story he had was this one lady who was very unhappy with her job, and she wanted a fix. And so she starts pouring out her dissatisfaction with her job. And he's not really a counselor. He doesn't really have that kind of skill set. So he kind of interrupted her, and he said, look, is there anything about your job that you like? And she's like, I don't like anything about my job. I don't like any of the people there. Blah, 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 blah. And he said, really? There's nothing you like about your job? How about this? Do you get paid? Yeah, I get paid. Do you like getting paid? Well, yeah. Well, put that down on the list. Let's make a list now, shall we? So they made a list, and it turns out there was like 23 things she liked about her job. I like getting paid. I like the fact that I'm being paid more than the average. I like the fact that I have good healthcare package, blah, blah, blah. So there's about 23 things on that list. And then he had to go out of town, and he comes back to town about a month later, and lo and behold, on the front row of his talk, there she is, sitting there like she's eating a banana sideways, grin on her face. And he talks to her at the end, and she says, oh my gosh, you never believe how the people at my job have become so positive recently. And that was after one simple gratitude exercise of looking at your situation and digesting how many good things you like about it. And just that simple little attitude change had such a profound effect on the people around her that they actually enjoyed her company and didn't avoid her or treat her, in a negative fashion. So that's really what it comes down to. And that's really why every one of those aspects in our life becomes a positive when you practice that simple foundational tool, that simple foundational habit of forcing yourself to be grateful, even when bad things are happening in your life, terrible things are going on in your life, there is still a positive that you can grasp onto for dear life, and that can feed on itself. That can have a ripple effect that can ripple through your whole life and through all the relationships in your life. So it's important. I know it's hard to do when things are happening that are really negative. Excuse me, I might sneeze. Better out than in, I say. So, so where was I? Okay. So basically, that's the key. I managed to give a Sunday sermon without a single Bible quote, without a single quote from our founder. I'm so sorry about that. But at the same time, I really feel I wanted to share this message because on Mother's Day, we have a lot to be grateful for. We're all born, after all. We've all been loved in some way or other. And even though our mothers are not perfect, and some of them may have had their own issues that may have scarred us in our lives, but at the same time, we have to understand that everyone instinctively is trying to do the best they can from where they're at with the tools that they have. So it's important for us to be grateful because we're here on earth, we have this life, this physical life, we can breathe, we have food, we have a house, we have so many wonderful things. It's important for us to take stock of those things in order to create a foundation, a bedrock upon which to build up our lives. And if you feel like in your life you've hit rock bottom, well, from a builder's standpoint, rock bottom is a good foundation to start a building from. You don't want to start a building from sand or some fluffy in the clouds feeling. You want to start it from a bedrock of solid granite. So there's a lot of things to be grateful for. Please take the time today to give yourself, you owe it to yourself to sit down with a notepad and just jot down the things in life that you're grateful for. And on that foundation, you will see, if you can practice that on a daily basis, to just remind yourself of the wonderful things while your mind is also pulling you towards taking care of the urgent things, and your mind is occupied with the urgent and it's not really necessarily focusing on the important. So please find the balance in your life by practicing gratitude, because I guarantee you it will help in every aspect of our lives. So thank you for listening, and I'd like to end with a short prayer. Dearest Heavenly Father, thank you so much for allowing us to be here today to hear your message and the message of hopefulness. This is something that we all need to hear because our lives are difficult. Life is a tragic occurrence, and it's also a beautiful occurrence. And sometimes our minds are preoccupied with the tragic and the negative, and we often, as a result, forget about all the wonderful things. And as a result of that, we are driven into a depth of depression. We are often caught up in a negative loop cycle. So we have to break out. We have to find a way, and this is the way. We need to experience, we need to practice gratitude so that we can find that root of goodness, that you are extending your heart and love towards us. You're always loving us despite the fact that there's clouds in the sky. The sun is always shining. Help us to move the clouds along and help us to experience the sunshine in our lives once again. Thank you so much for reminding us of your love. Thank you so much for the mothers in our life. Thank you so much for the guides and the caretakers in our life, the people who have influenced us in a positive way. Help us to be that to other people now. We thank you, and we offer this prayer through Christ our Lord, our Jew, and Amen.